Hello,
Rob?
everybody. Welcome to Rob's Rogues in the Batman Universe.net. Today, we're taking a look at a figure that has been long since on my want list, and this came to me by way of my good friend as a Christmas gift from the great Stu Murray 47. His channel is down here below in the description. Go give some love to this. A great Superman fan and a great friend. He sent this to me as a Christmas gift. Very kind, Stu. Thank you so very much for this. I was looking at it on eBay and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get it. Maybe I will. And he surprised me and picked this up for me. His brother did some paint detail on Mr. Freeze. I believe I still have those pictures. The goggles were really messed up, and his brother Barry did a phenomenal job in repainting Mr. Freeze in spots where the paint was just not up to par. So good that you can't even really tell that it has been painted and corrected. So thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful gift. The package, he's listed as a deluxe figure. The only thing that makes him deluxe is a couple inches in height, and they use this rather large box. He easily should have been a single-carded figure. If Bane from the Arkham Asylum was a single-carded figure, there was really no reason to have Mr. Freeze. I mean, this is a lot of wasted plastic and a lot of wasted box that really didn't need to do that, other than they were just trying to squeeze a few more bucks. He was always on my list to get, and I never got around to picking him up, so I'm so very thankful to have him. One of my favorite parts in the Arkham City video game. I just recently finished all of Arkham Knight, the Season of Infamy DLC. The Mr. Freeze part was a really good story, a sad story to his conclusion. So, we'll take a look at the rest of the package here. This is sculpted by Dave Cortez here. This is a figure stands approximately 7.25 inches. I think it's deluxe only just because of the height. Let's see if I can turn this around here. We see the other figures in the series. Of course, Mr. Freeze, and also Velo Killer Croc, which I have. Came from my good buddy ODC, that's me. And Titan Joker. That was one that I didn't really feel the need and the rush to go out and get. The read-up on here says, based on the blockbuster video game Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City. Wielding the power of his Sub-Zero suit and freeze gun, Mr. Freeze holds Batman's fate in his icy grip. So, again, thank you very much, Stu. There's the other side here of what Mr. Freeze looks like on the package. I cannot wait to get him out of package, so let's do so right now, and we will be right back with a closer look at the Batman Arkham City Deluxe action figure, Mr. Freeze. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
All right, we have the Deluxe. I'm using Deluxe Batman Arkham City Mr. Freeze figure. He was listed as a deluxe figure, so his price was a little bit higher. He is roughly right around the same size as Batman. He's not like Killer Croc or the Titan Joker, excuse me, or Clayface by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he is a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier, so I didn't know if there was a size and a weight that was like, okay, well, here's the line, and he's just a little bit over. I want to give a big thank you to Stu Murray 47. He hooked me up with this guy and sent him to me. Stu, I cannot thank you enough for Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze has been one of my favorite Batman villains for a very long time, and was a figure that I always kept meaning to pick up, and I didn't quite have the the $50 at the time to pick him up when he originally came out. So I decided, oh, I'll wait a little bit. Well, a couple years go by, and then this guy just starts skyrocketing in time. Over the course of time. So that's a lesson that sometimes we learn as collectors, to go if it's something that you think you want, you better get it now, because later on, the price of some of these figures are just going to start going through the roof. He got a really good deal over in the UK and sent them to me. So, Stu, thank you very, very much, sir. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And it's one of my favorite figures in my Batman Arkham collection. Even over all of the Robins and Batman figures that I have, I absolutely love this figure. There was a little bit of a QC problem with Mr. Freeze's eyes, that they were a little off, and Stu was so very kind enough that he knew somebody that was able to do some touch-up job. The goggles were really kind of all scraped and all that type of stuff. So Stu knew somebody that was able to give him a proper paint job, so he looked, new, mint in box. Now, there is a problem with this figure. Now, I don't know if Stu, since Stu had somebody paint this for me, it was just the eyes. There is another QC problem that I don't know if they didn't realize at the time, because it was listed as new and mint in box, and if I just grab his arm right here, it comes off. So this was not due to me pulling him out. This is back in the clear plastic days. So I had him out for a couple weeks, just kind of admiring him on my shelf before I started reviewing him, and then I went to go look at him the next day, and the arm had fallen off. So as you could tell, it was on there. His freeze gun does add a little bit of weight to the arm, so it may not have been something that they noticed when they pulled him out of package to just paint the eyes really quick, because the freeze gun was still, in its part in the packaging. So whoever the seller was, I don't think denoted it, because it said new in box. But, those things have happened during this time with DC Collectibles, that sometimes you'd pull a figure out of package and bam, the leg or whatever falls right off. So that may have just happened all on its own. I was, moving joints and things like that, because it's an action figure and that's what you want to do. So it could have just happened that way, and that's just what ended up happening. So a little bit of super glue into the arm, not really to glue the arm, but just to kind of make that joint a little bit tighter is what I'm essentially going to do with the figure. I do have the visor off of him, and when they painted it, they had to take the visor off. This visor is really kind of a pain to take off and on, so after this review, the visor is going to go back on, and that's just how Mr. Freeze is going to look, and I'll put it on for the review. We'll do the articulation. The head's on a really nice ball joint, which, you can get him to turn if you want him to look left or right. Doesn't look up that well. Can look down decent enough. I'll just have him straight on. Arms go all the way around, even though the canister's back there. It doesn't get in the way. Single bend at the elbow. No rotation in the hand or wrist, nothing up at the waist or the chest. Legs go forward and back, no in or out. An upper thigh cut, removable arm, single bend at the knee, and a swivel at the boot. What is that all about? So what I'm going to do is I will get Mr. Freeze put back together. We'll just set him up here. I'll get Mr. Freeze put back together. The other accessory does have him right here, is this base. I'm going to end up attaching him to this base just so he doesn't topple over once I get the arm reattached. But I'll get the arm back on with the freeze gun and the shield visor, and we'll get a final look at Mr. Freeze. So there's Mr. Freeze with his arm back on. I've got to fix that part yet, which is no big deal. And I've got the visor back on Mr. Freeze. You can kind of see the height difference between Batman. Even ears to the top of his dome are still really pretty close. I think it's probably more of a weight thing that made them, that's a hard word to say, that made them classify him as a deluxe figure. But the dome, I think, looks really cool and really eerie to be able to still sort of see inside of Mr. Freeze there. You get this nice bluing, nice blue glow in there, which is really pretty cool. And I was so afraid that I was going to snap the piece of blue plastic there to put that back in. It popped in and kind of had to squeeze it a little bit on the sides and kind of tuck it under these little blue pieces right there. So that is the last time that that is coming off. I appreciate that they have they give you the ability to take it off, but I wish maybe it just kind of flipped up and it also kind of has to sit down under these little hinge pieces there, so it's really forced in and you really have to squeeze it to get it back off. So that's where it's going to stay. Again, one of my favorite figures, probably in my collection as a whole. I've always loved the Mr. Freeze character, especially coming out of the Batman the Animated Series. Made Mr. Freeze such a cool Batman Rogues villain. So today we've been taking a look at the Batman, I've almost got my video games wrong. The Batman Arkham City video game deluxe figure is, of course, Mr. Freeze from DC Collectibles. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the Batman universe, signing off saying we will see you guys next time.